We'd like to welcome everyone to our first podcast here in beautiful Coon Rapids, Minnesota. Looking out our studio window, we've got our first blush of snow finally showing up, and it's mid-February. Normally at this time we would have had at least a few feet of snow that would have been dumped on us periodically. But it's been a good winter if you don't like snow. My name's Doug, and I'm here with...
Also Doug.
We're the two Dougs.
I guess we started to do this podcast, or wanted to do a podcast, because most of the time during work we find an hour or two to just kind of shoot the shit, talk about different things in life, AI, simulation, Bitcoin, all kinds of random thoughts. So that's what we're doing here today, is trying to figure it out.
Most recently, golf has been on our top of our list. We have one of our clients.
It's called On the Hill Golf.
On the green.
On the green.
On the green. I hope they're not listening. And they're a really cool place. It's got like a bar vibe with the simulators and couches, and it's a lot of fun. I didn't like it to begin with because it really, really does give you a true look at your swing and your distance and that sort of thing. Because you swing the golf club, and then it shows you everything from the swing speed to little pictures of exactly where the ball was hitting on your...
3 different videos from 3 different angles.
Yeah. So it's pretty thorough. And if you're a hack golfer like myself, thorough isn't what you always want to be looking at.
No, but we did add 40 yards of distance to your drive. So it is beneficial in that way.
Now, we're not going to have to tell them what I started at as far as my...
You were averaging 180 to 190, and we got it up to about 222, 223.
And of course,
which is pretty good, because you're not swinging harder. You're just mechanically doing something different, and you've added 40 yards to your drive.
And that made my day. It really did.
Make your life.
And you, of course, not to toot your horn, but you, of course, are averaging, and we've been primarily working on our drives, but you've been averaging close to 300 yards.
When I can hit it. Sometimes I'm getting used.
Well, you're pretty consistent. I would say 90% of the time you're hitting it 300 yards plus.
Still getting used to my driver. Last year was rough for me, no pun intended.
What are you using for you went and got a new driver after
I'm
about
using
10 years.
The TaylorMade Sim 2. It's a blue driver. My other one actually broke. The head on it actually cracked. So I had no choice but to upgrade to the Sim 2.
And what are they getting for those newer clubs nowadays? Was that the newest model, or was that like a year old?
That I believe is a year old, but it was still about $350, which it seems to be like always $350. Even if it was 10 years ago and you're getting a new driver, it was about $300, $350.
They're not cheap. Although I've seen them for $1,000. So $350 nowadays isn't terrible, especially if it works for you.
Well, definitely a set of clubs. You're going to pay for a good set of clubs. You're going to pay $1,500 to $2,000
easily. Yeah, my set is really old, but they work for me. They're like an
old friend.
They are. They're like an old friend.
You could use a new driver, though. I think you could definitely use a new driver. If I were you, I would go to like Dick's Sporting Goods or something like that and hit a few different clubs and see which one
What
works
is the
best
driver
with
that
your
is? Is that a Sasquatch?
You have a Nike, I think it's a Sumo Sasquatch driver, something like that.
Yeah.
SQ, Sumo.
And again, you use the clubs that you become comfortable with, but I think I could gain even a few more yards if I updated my club.
I think realistically you can go, you were at I'll say 185 was an average for you. And just changing a few different little things in your swing, you got it to about 223. And I think if you get some new equipment, I think you're looking at a 230 to 240 range on your drive. Just by new tech, and just changing up the swing a little bit to get the plane correct.
And keep in mind too, I know I sound really young, but I am mid 60s as far as age. So if I can get up to 230, I would be very, very happy with my drive.
If you got to 230 and you're 66 or whatever you are, that would still be probably 30 yards further than what you were hitting it 10 years ago. So you're actually gaining distance.
I don't know if that's necessarily true or not.
It is, because your swing plane and your swing was so unorthodox that you were missing out on probably 50 yards of distance even back then. So if you've now figured it out, you're probably hitting it further than what you were 10 years ago.
But do you ever really figure it out?
Yeah, you do. You literally do in golf. You can.
I don't think so. I think when you finally think that you figured it out, that's the kiss of death.
That's when you get humbled. That's when the shanks come.
Exactly.
That's when the, what is it called? It's the shanks and the yips. They call it the yips.
I've only had the yips a few times as far as putting is concerned, but not very often.
I usually get the shanks twice a year probably.
And for those listening who just happen to get the shank, and it is the most scary thing ever, all of a sudden to start shanking, what did you find was the fix for the shank?
Well, there's really like two ways you can shank it. Maybe one technically, and that's you're moving into the ball and you're getting too close to it and it's actually hitting out the heel of the club, but it'll shoot right. So you, in your mind, you think you're hitting it off the toe,
right,
like the outside of the club, but really you're getting too close to the ball. You're leaning in, and it's coming off that heel of the club and then just shooting right. So you're almost hitting it off the shaft instead of the club face. And
one of the quickest fixes for that I've found when I've gotten the shanks is to put a club head, club cover down in front of the ball, parallel to it, and you'll find out real quick if when you're swing, if you're shanking, you're hitting into that club cover.
Yeah. The big thing is when you're shanking it, your swing is too horizontal, I guess. You're swinging too far out. So a lot of times, too, they say it actually helps to steepen your swing, which it feels weird, but if you steepen your swing, that gets you along on the right club path, too. But anyways, that's
right.
Don't want to talk about shanks too much.
So we do like golfing. We enjoy golfing. Another pastime that we enjoy is movies. We enjoy going to movies. If you get an opportunity, Doug actually critiques movies, and you can find his column if you get an opportunity to go to AnokaCountyOnline.com. He puts up a movie review at least on a monthly basis. And I'm trying to think of what is the last movie that we saw together. Willy Wonka.
Not my favorite.
I enjoyed it.
Definitely not my favorite out of the three that there's been with Gene Wilder, Johnny Depp, and now that Timothy Chalamet. I would say I would rank it in that order. So I'd go the Gene Wilder Wonka, Johnny Depp Wonka, and then this new Wonka I would put it third. So not my favorite, but not bad.
Before I forget, and if you're listening and people like Johnny Depp, I just saw a movie called The Professor with Johnny Depp from 2018, and it was excellent and very low budget, but really, really good. He's got cancer and how he deals with it, and he's a professor, and he just changes his whole life and opens up, and he wishes that he would have done it sooner, but not to get sidetracked.
When did that come out?
2018.
So it is newer.
Right. And he was great, and he looked good and sounded good, unlike kind of what you've been seeing of him as of late. He looks a little bit beat up.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to Willy Wonka, is that what it's called, Willy Wonka?
Wonka. Just Wonka.
Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah. So I think the first movie was called Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right? And then the second one was called Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and this one's just called Wonka, I believe.
Okay, so we're talking about Timothy Chalamet. I know he's kind of like a Justin Bieber with the girls, but I haven't been real impressed with the movies that I've seen him in.
I think he's pretty good in the right movie. I think in Dune, he was pretty good. I honestly don't know a whole lot of other movies that he's in. He was in Interstellar. He was like the son. But that's when he was really young. So
I just saw him in a movie with Selena Gomez. And it was kind of the same goofy character of Wonka, you know? So I don't know. Maybe that's just who he is. I'm not saying he's terrible. But there's just, I don't know. It's just a little weak for me. The roles he's played so far or how he's acted in them. So you're a bubbler man now lately. Let's talk energy drinks. Do you believe in energy drinks?
I believe in caffeine. I need caffeine. I need some sort of, I tried going for about a month and a half without caffeine, and that was tough. You just never, I personally just never really feel awake.
I'm
never able to wake up. It's tough. It's
for
like
the
a drug.
last 40 years, I have had a Diet Pepsi every single morning.
Wow.
I may have missed a day or two here or there, but I've never been a coffee guy. If I have coffee, I just start shaking, and within about a half hour after I've had the coffee, I'm shaking and I'm just feeling stressed, like I want to kill somebody. And that's after one cup.
Yeah, I think we have a weak nervous system.
I think so too. But one Diet Pepsi does the trick for me, and it always has.
Well, I think there's like 50 milligrams of caffeine in a Pepsi.
Compared to what's in a cup of
I
coffee.
think there's like 100.
Right.
So
What's in your bubbler?
I think this is like 67. 69.
Now, I like bubbler, and I think it's really good.
I found
But again, it just threw me off. When I drank bubbler, I got a little bit of...
I found if I do 2 a day, kind of like 1 in the morning, gets me to like 12, 1 o'clock. And then I take a second one for the second part of the day. And that works pretty good for me.
I thought
But
you'd gone
I
for a
had
while
gone.
without any...
Yeah, but I have...
Need for...
It's tough. It's tough. You, like I say, you never really feel like you wake up. At least I don't.
Did you see that has... I'm throwing out these names, get us in trouble, but it's been in the press. Has a drink that people can just go up to their fountain and fill up their cups, and it's got just a load of caffeine, and people have actually died as a result.
So did they get rid of it? I'm assuming
No.
they have to get rid of it.
What it does, though, is I noticed on their drive up the other night, they've got a warning that says, hey,
Why wouldn't you just get rid of the drink?
I don't know. I certainly would think that they would, but they
But
haven't.
to go back and answer your question, I don't usually like energy drinks, especially if I think a normal energy drink is like 150 milligrams to 200. And if I do 2 energy drinks in a day, I actually had to go and get an EKG because it put my heart out of rhythm. Like almost like seriously like an AFib kind of a thing. It was a heart palpitation. So I had to quit
that's
that.
why I watched the bubbler too. I mean,
Yeah, but
My son sound like
bubbler
a-
is
such
one.
like-
Bubbler's basically 1/4 of an energy drink. It's
Oh, okay.
basically like a pop or a soda.
right. So we've established that we like a little caffeine.
Starting off with
In
the
our
really interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Caffeine.
You know, if you really think about it, though, it's kind of crazy because everyone is hooked on, not everyone, but so many people could not start their day without the caffeine drug.
That's what I'm saying. I went
literally-
2 months without it, and I could see a difference in my energy output as far as like what I'm able to do at work and different things like that. Like I'm not as efficient.
Do you think that's the majority of people? It sure seems like it.
I just kind of think humans aren't made to be working 8-hour shifts. I think they're like dogs or cats, where a dog or a cat can sleep on demand. They
Right.
probably sleep 15 hours a day.
Right.
I just wonder if people are
Why
like
do I
that
think
too.
that you could do that too? Just-
Because I think that's the natural way that humans are supposed to be.
right?
They got us forced. We got to go to work. We got to do this. Like, I mean, we can get into the whole simulation theory stuff. Like, what is going on here? We've just come to this reality. Like, this is how life is. We go and we work 8 hours a day. We go home and we do the same
Right,
thing
but don't
every
you feel
single
that
day.
people are breaking out of that mold?
Well, I think technology helps. I think you can only... Back in the day, you didn't really have a choice. Like, we're becoming more efficient. Technology is making it so we shouldn't have to work as much. But,
Right.
I mean, we still are because of inflation, so the money's stealing from us, and that's keeping us working. But if it wasn't for that, I think technology and innovation and different things like that should make it so that we work a lot less, but it just never seems like we do.
Let me ask you this. After COVID, or during COVID, everybody went from not everybody, but a lot of people went to the work from home day.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that's good for people to all of a sudden only be in their little bubble at home and not getting out and socially lubricating?
No, I think it's convenient when you need it. Now that we have it established and we have it set up and we can do Zoom calls, it's pretty nice because if you do need to stay from home, you can easily do it now. But I think if you're a business or just a human being in general, like, you need to have that social interaction. I think you're more efficient when you work. You produce better if you're around people with the same attitude, the same motivation. It just seems like a little backwards to be...
Well, I think too, people need to have other people
Well,
in
yeah.
their lives instead of just themselves all day long. It makes you get into your head a little bit too much, I think. You just start thinking weird stuff, and you got to get out and
Well, if you're not staying busy, you do get into your own head. You just start thinking instead of living. You need to live. You need to conversate with other people. If you don't have anyone to conversate with, that's where you get deep into your head, and then you start seeing negative effects.
and look at what it's doing to the real estate market. I mean, they were talking the other day, I don't have the exact figures, but just all of the office buildings, downtown office buildings that are now empty.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to all work.
Well, a lot of them are starting to look at turning them into, apartments, condos, and that sort of thing, because there is a glut of that space.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know how it all works out. Like, do we just become more and more antisocial? Are we essentially, I mean, it seems like it, like we're going to be living out of, like we've talked about it before, that Ready Player One. I mean, you've seen the Apple Vision VR virtual reality goggles. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have, but it seems like that was like a big thing for a while.
No,
and now
that's
it
coming
seems-
back. That's Apple just released their Vision Pro, and now there's people all over the streets, New York, wherever, and they're wearing these goggles everywhere. But it is pretty sweet. If you look up the tech, it's pretty cool because you can pin videos, so you can just multitask so much better because you can pin like videos or TV screens in your house. So if you're walking around with it, if you come into your living room, it'll have a TV pin there if you choose to have it pinned. So it like knows GPS where everything is. It's not like it just stays on your screen and follows you around.
Do you need that?
I don't know, but it's just like I was thinking about it. I'm like,
Isn't
we're
that
gonna
overkill.
Well, eventually you're not even gonna
How
have
lazy can you
You're
get?
not gonna have computers or anything. You're just gonna be able to do it out of your goggles, and you're gonna have a screen within your goggles that looks like a computer, but there's no computer there.
And what about Elon Musk with just putting a chip in the first human?
Yeah, I wish they'd slow down on that.
Well, it's kind of the same type of thing that you're talking about. That chip can
Yeah.
probably do anything that you need. You wouldn't even have to, at that point, they wouldn't have to sell the goggles.
Well, that supposedly is supposed to be helpful for people that have spinal injuries and different things like that. It's supposed to be able
But
to make
you
them
can
walk
see where
again.
it's going.
Well, it's just like it depends on the hands that it gets into. If it gets into someone evil, you can use it for evil. If someone's a good person, they can use it for good, for injuries, different things like that. But it's like, now that the technology's here and you can put brain chips into people, it's really just a matter of intention. Is your intention negative or is it positive? Because either way, it's going to have a big impact.
Right. Kind of like AI.
It's kind of scary,
Yep.
but
Artificial intelligence.
it doesn't help at all to be scared of it. Like, we're in it, and you might as well be optimistic about it. I guess I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
What do you think? That could be a good T-shirt. Can you say that again?
I think I'd rather be optimistic and wrong than pessimistic and right.
Wow. Now, did you just come up with that? Or
No, I think I heard Elon say that. But it sounded, I sounded smart. It's a good line, though. I like it.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk.
He is definitely a forward thinker. I was just in South Padre Island, Texas, with my lovely wife, Deb, and we were able to see his SpaceX location from South Padre. We were going to take a trip. It's another hour to get right up close to it, but we decided not to do that on this trip. But the guy he's an amazing person, whether you like his politics or not. He has done some things that...
He's a builder. He builds stuff. He makes the world better with products. That's a good thing.
Well, there's some people that would debate that with you, that he makes things better.
I think he's made things better.
Well, I agree, but they sure seem to, or a big faction seems to want to close him down.
Well, we talked about it before. First, they loved him. He was America's golden boy, inventor, entrepreneur. And then all of a sudden, he started voicing his opinions, and he became the most hated man in the news. So
Right.
Then he bought Twitter, and he said, I'm going to own Twitter. I'm going to change it up a little bit. We're going to have free speech. And even if you don't agree with it, you can at least hear it.
And that's the way it should be.
I think so. I think when you start telling people what they can and can't say, that just makes them more mad, obviously.
I agree. So why are they trying to do that to Elon?
I don't know. I think that's where you got to start going, why don't they want this guy to say this stuff? And it's usually because the stuff he's saying is right, and they're scared of it, whoever they are.
Well, I wonder if he's right, because he once said that he thought there was, I forget what the percentage was, that we were actually living in a simulation. Didn't he say something about that there was like a 50% chance, or?
I think he said like a 99% chance, or he said there's a 1 in like 7 billion chance that this is actually base reality. There's only a 1 in 7 billion chance that this is actual reality. So the odds of it being in a simulation are very, very high, is what he's saying.
And what would that what does that mean?
It means that if technology improves at any rate whatsoever over time, eventually the technology will be indistinguishable from reality. And if that's true, who's to say that we're not already there and we're in a simulation? Does that make sense?
Wow.
That's his whole thing, though. It's like, okay, well, if the technology keeps going at a rate, even if it's a slow rate, and it takes 1,000 years or whatever, but it continuously improves over time, at some point it will be indistinguishable from reality when you put on your VR glasses. At that point, you probably won't have glasses. You're just in it. I don't know how it would work. But if it does, if it's possible to get there, the odds of us being in a simulation right now are very high.
Meaning that we're being manipulated by...
I don't know what it would be for. I don't know why we'd be in a simulation. Maybe because life isn't that great outside of it. Maybe there was devastation.
So now,
maybe,
now we're talking like a Matrix scenario.
Well, yeah, if you want to talk about Elon Musk, I don't think Elon Musk came up with that theory of the simulation. I mean, you can look back in 99, like you say, the Matrix was playing around with that. That's why it was such a groundbreaking film. Nobody was even thinking like that. And they're like, holy crap.
I love that movie. It still holds up. I do remember the first time I saw it, it was just, I went and actually, it had just come out. And we have AMC Theater right around the corner here.
Showplace, Carasotes,
And
Showplace at the time.
And I remember just saying, I'm going to that first showing. And I left work and went over there, and it just was amazing.
Yeah, I love when you have those like impactful films or just anything impactful like that where it just like changes up the game really quick. You're like, you know what I mean? Like you get something like The Matrix and it totally just changes like what's possible.
Right.
In film or thinking or whatever it is. It's like, holy crap, that was groundbreaking.
And you know, Keanu
Reeves.
was so good in that, and I never thought he would be anything other than a stoner.
Did you
when
know?
I saw his first movie, what was his first movie? Hey Dude, My Car.
He wasn't in that.
What was he in?
That was the guy from, that was Ashton Kutcher and the guy from Stifler from American Pie. He's actually from Minnesota.
Well, he
I
was
think.
in something like that. I remember seeing him in
Well,
Parenthood.
he was in the.
and he was a stoner in Parenthood.
Yeah, that's where I first saw him.
I just didn't see him becoming this huge.
He was in that
huge
Time
star.
Traveler movie. Him and his buddy, they were kind of like dudes.
Right.
Is
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. Did you know that Will Smith was actually supposed to originally be in The Matrix, but he turned it down?
Yeah, I saw that. Somebody else was supposed to be in that too.
That's a mistake.
I like looking at those to see who was actually up for
And
the
then
part.
his wife actually ended up being in like the second one. So
Right.
That's interesting.
You know, on that note, I think we should.
Well, let's end it with just a little bit of talk on Bitcoin, since that's my favorite topic.
I guess my question about Bitcoin, I've just kind of taken your lead and your belief in it so strongly that I've now.
You have
got
an
a
interest in it.
I have a
little
small
bit.
interest in, very small. And I'm doing it through what's it called? The ETF.
Yeah. They,
And that just that was just legalized.
It was approved by the SEC. An ETF is an exchange traded fund, which means it tracks the price of Bitcoin. So it's essentially like you have Bitcoin exposure with actually not actually owning the Bitcoin, but you're taking advantage of the price that goes up.
But you're giving up
You're
the functionality of it, of being able to use it to purchase something.
You're giving up the actual ownership and custodial benefit of Bitcoin. The whole point of Bitcoin is that you own that property. You actually own it. You don't have to worry about putting it into a bank or holding it on a crypto exchange or something like that. You actually own the Bitcoin. Most people hold it inside of a cold wallet, which is like a USB.
See, and that's where it gets a little sketchy for me. If you lose your cold wallet, you're out all that money. You're out all of your Bitcoin. If somebody steals it, if somebody takes that little wallet, you're done. There's no.
It's actually not true.
Oh.
So Bitcoin is a public blockchain, and your cold wallet, that USB thing, that actually holds the keys that give you the ability to sign off on moving your Bitcoin. So it's not like you actually have the Bitcoin on the USB. The Bitcoin is always on the public ledger. And then when you approve your keys, which is on your USB, you're then able to sign off and move your money wherever you need to move it.
But if you lose
that USB, as long as you have your key phrase,
what if you don't have your key phrase?
then you're screwed.
So if somebody loses their key phrase,
But
they
that's like
forget
that-
their key
but
phrase.
that's the whole point, though, is like you
Well,
should.
if I forget my password for my Huntington card or whatever, I'm able to get a new password, and I can still keep my money. They're not taking
That's the
it.
whole point, though, is like putting it back on yourself again. You know, it's not having to trust anyone. Like we become so used to just trusting. Like if your money in the bank right now is not actually your money. If that bank goes under, if something happens, like they take your money. You can see in Canada during the truckers' protest, they actually shut down people's accounts, like banking accounts. That's not. I mean, that's just so wrong.
Well,
You don't actually own that.
$250,000 is fully guaranteed. Now, if you have more than $250,000 in a single bank, so you can have multiple 250,000s in different banks, and it's all federally insured. If that bank goes under, if something happens, you are going to get your money. Supposedly, that's the way it's set.
Yeah, I guess that's just like if you don't trust yourself enough to have control of your own money, I guess go ahead and do that. But then you're going to be dealing with a manipulated money, a money that steals from you via inflation. It's a corrupted system, and that's why people are moving to a decentralized monetary network that's distributed through software, which is Bitcoin. But it takes a while for people to understand, why do I actually need Bitcoin? Why do I want to use Bitcoin? And that's a whole 5, 6, 7 podcasts that we could talk about that.
Let me just finish with one thing then. Do you think it was a huge step for these ETFs? Now they're offered, like I get mine through Charles Schwab.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that was a huge plus for Bitcoin becoming more legitimate?
It made Bitcoin so that it was recognized as a new asset class. Like we have a new asset class now, and it's Bitcoin. It was approved by the SEC. They actually had a legal battle where the SEC originally didn't want to approve it, but it actually went to court, and court said this is legal. This is something that should be approved and should be something that can be traded on the stock exchange. So yeah, it's a big deal because you have this whole new avenue of money that can come into Bitcoin. Where like a lot of people that were older or boomers or whoever, they didn't want to have to buy Bitcoin through a crypto exchange or have to worry about what you're saying with the passwords and the different things like that or losing your USB. Now you're trusting essentially BlackRock, Fidelity. They hold the crypto for you. They take care of all the complicated stuff, and now you have the exposure to Bitcoin and you're able to take advantage of the rising price.
Like you say, this is going to be conversation for a lot of podcasts.
Yeah.
Because it is something that's very, very relevant and becoming even more relevant every day. So with that, I think we should wrap it up before we start to bore people to death.
Yeah. No, that sounds good.
So I'm Doug.
And I'm also Doug.
And we'd just like to thank you for joining us. And in probably our next podcast, we'll be giving out an email if you'd like to give us any suggestions or anything, topics that maybe you want us to discuss, or even possibly have you on as one of our guests. That would be great. This podcast was brought to you by Ovaltine, where we're oval for a reason.